Sion. I welcome you all to the webinar on nurturing children with special needs or disabilities, where they can be free to express their emotions without criticism. And this is an approach that has numerous positive effects and spin-offs. There comes a point in every child's life where they become acutely aware of themselves, their surroundings, and their place in the world. This is no different for a child with disabilities. It is often during this time that their uniqueness is highlighted and felt more acutely, and they are often left feeling frustrated, especially as there are a few role models for them to aspire to. It is often left up to the parents, who themselves are trying to cope, to help their child come to terms with their reality. It is my pleasure and an honor to welcome and introduce our guest speaker today. Dr. Sukanta Mahapatra is working as Assistant Director Academics in National Institute of Open Schooling, NIOS as we call it. He has got Doctor of Philosophy in Sociology of Education from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. He is coordinating the Indian Sign Language project, in which his team is developing videos for the deaf and hard of hearing population. He has been awarded with Bharat Jyoti Award by International Friendship Society, New Delhi. He has authored many books on ICT in education, open and distance learning, equity and access, quality in school education, issues and concerns, etc. We welcome you, Dr. Sukanta Mahapatra, to share your views on the topic chosen today.
Thank you. It is my privilege to address parents and teachers, those who are handling the greater responsibility of nurturing their children, those who have special skills or disabilities. It's an honor for me because since the last 11 years I am working for persons with disabilities so that they get adequate learning opportunity in their teaching learning environment. Thank you once again to TCS for providing the opportunity, and also I thank all the parents and teachers.
Thank you, Dr. Mahapatra. So as we are talking about the children with disabilities, could you please tell us what are the current educational status of CWDs in India? How many of them are really benefiting with the policies?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, throughout years, the government, policymakers, non-government organizations have tried to provide adequate policy in place so that more and more persons with disabilities, they get benefit from the schooling system. So as a result, till now, we have tried to revise our policy perspective, we try to revise our implementation procedure so that more and more children with disabilities benefit from the schooling system. But still there are many children with disabilities, they are not able to go to school. If we talk about the number, according to 2011 census, 2.68 crore population are persons with disabilities. They constitute 2.21% of total population. If we talk about the children with disabilities, their number, it is around 7.8 million as per the 2011 census. If we talk about the education status, only 61% of children with disabilities are able to enter any education institution between the age of 0 to 19. But if we talk about children without disability, they are 71%. Similarly, if we talk about the dropout rate is higher in case of children with disabilities. They constitute 12%. If we talk about how many children, those who are at the age of 5 are able to go to school, so their number is only 3 and 3/4. They are not able to go to school. Because you know why? Because at the age of 5, the children, the parents are not able to diagnose whether the child has any kind of disabilities or not, or if they are able to find out, if they are not able to get adequate guidance that where their child should enroll, whether they are in special school or not, or if the school is there, they find that in India normally most of the parents go to either religious places or go for work so that their child gets cured. So by that time, the child lost the learning opportunity if you compare the learners with others without disabilities. And if we talk about 0 to 19 years of age, so there are 1/4 of children, they are not able to go to school. So, and if we talk about girls with disabilities, they are more disadvantaged because at first the parents are more concerned about their child, the girl child should be in a safe and secure environment. So because that is a bigger concern also. So the education comes next when it comes to girls with disabilities. So if we talk about disability, on the one hand, the gender is a major concern where girls are not normally not given adequate opportunity to schooling. But when it comes to girls with disabilities, they are the double disadvantage when it comes to education opportunities. So this is the education status of persons with disabilities in India now.
These are quite scary figures, Dr. Mahapatra, that you've given. But thankfully, we recently had the National Education Policy 2020, which was approved by the Union Cabinet on 29th July this year, 2020. It outlines the vision of India's new education system, right? And further reaffirms that bridging the social gaps in access, participation, and learning outcomes in school education will continue to be one of the major goals of all education programs. So what are the major recommendations pertaining to the education of CWDs in the policy?
Yeah, thankfully we have National Education Policy 2020, which has major say on how to provide safe, non-violent, inclusive, and efficient schooling for the persons with disabilities or the children with disabilities. So if we compare the policies throughout years, you will find a major shift in the policy perspective where inclusive education is the major focus. So on the first sentence, when it comes to objective goals of NEP, it completely says that the education should be flexible, accessible, efficient, quality. So there should be no compromise for educational opportunity for the person with disabilities. So it talks about inclusive education component starting from the architectural barriers till the curriculum revamp. It gives a complete shape that at every stage there should be adequate opportunity for the schooling for the person with disabilities. So earlier if you talk about the B.Ed curriculum or the school education, the teaching curriculum where the teachers are being trained, so there was no major focus. But now it says that when the teacher is going for any kind of training, so inclusive education should be the major component, major emphasis should be there, so that any children with disabilities, when they come to school, they get adequate learning opportunities from their teachers. Similarly, it talks about peer tutoring, open schooling, and use of technology in a proper manner, so that the children with disabilities get adequate learning opportunities. So and secondly, if we talk about, it has taken care of RPWD Act, Right to Persons with Disability Act 2016, where it says that the child, irrespective whether they are deaf or whether they are blind, they should get learning opportunity in their own language, in their own native language. So now there is every school, whether it is a government school or a private school, they need to focus on inclusive education components, so that any learner, whether they have disabilities or without disabilities, they get adequate. So if we talk about Samagra Shiksha Abhijan, which has came recently, which has both the component of Sarva Shiksha Abhijan, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhijan, also teacher education component, it says that every school, whether it is government or private, or if that is rural area or urban area, there should be special education teacher, and if the special education teacher is not there, they can take help from the resource center, because resource center, there is a resource centers where their special education teacher is there, all the equipments are there, so that more and more learners with disabilities, they get benefit out of it.
You've answered my next question also in a way, because I was actually wanting to ask you that apart from students, how are the well-trained, a good training of the teachers being addressed in the NEP policy? So anything more you want to add to it to promote inclusive policy in education? Just throw some light on that.
Yes. Actually, when you talk about the teacher training, there is a major gap where, therefore, we are able to find a major gap in providing quality education to children with disabilities. On the one hand, earlier there is no training compared to the B.Ed curriculum, so the teachers are in a major dilemma how to provide adequate learning opportunity. Because earlier the survey says that there are around 3 lakh teachers trained in education, that is for 2 to 3 days. Then additional they are also providing 4 to 5 days of training. But this training are inadequate. No doubt it gives them awareness about the children with disabilities, what their education should be, but we did not get a proper benefit out of it. So the major gap is the teacher. The teacher has to be adequately trained in relation to how to identify that the child has the disabilities or not, and if the person has a disability, how to cope up in the present situation also. So that is a major thing. So and on the other hand, the teachers in India don't have what to do. What they even they want to help the children with disabilities, but they are actually in the compulsion stage, because on the one hand they are being highly loaded with the non-teaching tasks, and second thing, there are multi-grade classroom situations where they have to train, where they have to teach class 1 to 5 children. If there is one teacher is teaching to the whole class 1 to 5, and the classroom is fully loaded with the students. So the teacher is in dilemma of how the teacher is really struggling how to help this kind of situation. So now the national education policy has properly says that the teachers should be adequately trained and they should not be burdensome. So now we can see the positive changes in future, because the policy says many things, and also it also talks about the implementation mechanism also. So in future we should all hope that positive changes come and all the children with disabilities get adequate learning opportunity. Thank you.
I really hope that it comes true, sir. Looking forward to the changed environment for inclusivity. So open schooling is, I think, plays a major part in the educational needs of CWDs. So how do you feel the NIOS as an open school can meet these needs for children with disabilities, sir?
Yes. I come from NIOS, where this is the largest open schooling system in the world. Every year we enroll around 5 lakh learners through ODL mode, open distance learning mode. So if we talk about open schooling system, it is more flexible, it is more go with the pace of the child, and it provides a flexible learning opportunity to the learners. Throughout years, the children across disability, children, whether they're girls or boys, they're rural area and urban area, they really benefited from NIOS system education. So therefore, National Policy in Education 2020 has really focused on it. It does not say that only the child with disability has to go to formal school. It says that homeschooling, open schooling is a viable mechanism if the child has the disabilities or they have that extra talent, so they can also go to NIOS system education. Because in NIOS, there is no subject barrier. If a person is good in painting, so he or she can also go for the painting with the physics or painting with the mathematics. And if a person is good in sports, even there are children with disability, they are good in sports also. So they can, because in NIOS, the person can learn at their own time, own pace. Apart from that, NIOS is also developing Indian Sign Language as a subject, which is not done till now in 7 decades of Indian independence. So here, as a person, those who are from Odia background or Bengali medium, they are learning their own language. So here, the deaf person will be able to get education in their own language. So that is in process. And similarly, NIOS has already developed around 300 videos in 6 subjects, where the student can learn in their own native sign language. Similarly, NIOS provides learning opportunity in the Braille and also the talking book. So the person, those who are visually impaired or blindness, they can go for talking book education through talking books. They can listen to the audio. They can sit for also examination. And in NIS, also there are also cases where the person is not able to go to examination hall because of his own disabilities, and because there are cases where the person will have multiple disables, and he or she is not able to go to the examination hall. So because that person has the talent, because he or she is not able to go to examination hall, so he should not feel that he gets stuck somewhere. So there are cases where NIS went to the door of learners and the examination will be conducted, and they also successfully passed out from NIS system education. And the second thing is that in NIS system education, one can go for both academic and vocational skill. So they can choose academic subject, they can also choose vocational subject, and they can also get after examination, they can also get certificates. So here you see a person, if he is good in painting, if a person he is good in tailoring, or he is person good in hair stylist course, so they can also go for this. So after all, they can get adequate learning opportunity. And there is also no age bar. A person at the age of 7 can also enroll for NIS courses. The person who is at the age of 74 also can enroll for the courses. So you might have find that in case of disabilities, because the first of all the parents struggle that how to give them education. So most of the cases the child starts education at the age of 9 or 10. So here in NIS system education, a person even at the age of 14, he can go for the 10th level course also. So that is also happening. So NIS provides accessible and flexible education learning opportunities to the person, children with or without disabilities. Thank you.
So this is really a far thought, examples that you've told, no age bar, door-to-door examinations, and then available vocational courses. We hadn't even thought about all these things maybe 10 years ago. So it clearly shows how our government has a progressive thought process. We've spoken about the students, we've spoken about the teachers. Now, what are the perceptions of the parents about the psychological inhibitions of their children in integrating with the school environment? And what strategies should be adopted by parents and teachers for a barrier-free schooling for their children, sir?
Yeah.
Could you throw some light on this?
Parents has to play a very vibrant role, and because the parents who knows the better their child. The parents, the only person who knows their child in a better manner. So parent has to play a very vibrant role. So so most of the parents get scared when they find that the child is born with some kind of disability, and the parents go with the mental trauma, and then they feel that how to go. But now the time has changed. Now there are enough learning, enough scope that how the teacher, the parents, the child can be nurtured in a proper manner. So now, before 10 to 25 years, there is no model, but now there are immense model, and they can learn from other parents, because there are a number of case studies. So they can. So first of all, they have to go to doctors, psychologists, and teachers, social education centers, instead being confined themselves in their home, because the children with disabilities, they may be disabled in terms of physically, mentally, or anything, but they have the extra talent. Throughout the years, there are enough case studies where said that the children with disabilities have the extra talent. So we have, as a parent, we have to identify that talent, we have to nurture that talent, we have to give them proper education so that they don't feel that the parents did not care them, the parents didn't ask them. You might have seen the picture of Tara Jamin Par, where the parents were not able to identify the talent of their child, and when they identify their child, but by the time the teacher identified their child with that the child has the extra talent, it has the time, there is a time gap. So as a parent, the responsibility should be to go to psychologists, go to doctors, go to educationists, so that your child gets adequate learning opportunities from the early years. Now the good thing is that now the government has also taken step that to have education from the nursery to senior second at one class, one school compound. So now the child can get adequate learning opportunities from the early age. But now we have to so the parent has to play a role of caregiver, educationist, to have a good nurturance, and then they have to be assessment. So assessment, the parent has to assess their child from the earliest to the child being grown up, so that because the parents are able to can know better their child. So you find at any point of time if the child is not able to cope up psychologically or physically, so you have to take care of that, because every step is important. Then your child will be able to contribute for the family, society, and community, and for his or her well-being. So and finally, I can say that the parent has to be a sena, like he or she has to care. He has to education, then nurture, and then assistance, and then after all, you have to give care and affection to your child, so that they become a good citizen of this country, and they feel privileged to be part of this society. Thank you.
Undoubtedly, sir. Very, very well said. Yes. So, all in all, the teacher, the parent, all of them together can make this happen. But there's still one doubt, sir. What is the profile of the children with disabilities or children with special needs attending the schools? And how do you think the teachers can identify such children in the class so that they know who to help, who needs extra help?
Yes. They are like, if we talk about disabilities, it is physical disabilities, it is psychological disabilities, it is also like speech impaired, like hearing disabilities, like there are deaf and hard of hearing learners, there are person with locomotor disabilities, there are person with autism. So the teacher has to give an adequate training so that they are able to identify what kind of learning opportunity is being lacking in that children. So here, every school should have the rehabilitation and counseling facilities. Every school should have tie up with the community health departments of Government of India, because that if the teacher are adequately trained, they can be able to identify the profile of the child, the the lack of learning opportunity in the child. So here, the teacher, unless the teacher is being trained, they cannot identify. So the teacher has to be given adequate training for this identification of learning gaps in the children.
So are there any trainings that you can specify, sir, which are available for such teachers or even parents? Is there anything that you can share?
Yeah, actually, the government is providing. There are a number of government is they provide adequate training opportunity. Time to time, the training is being conducted. So the government takes care of all this when it comes to education.
Any closing remarks that you would like to share?
Yeah. So we have to work we can't work in isolation. So there has to be proper collaboration and integration of different departments, and then there are a number of NGOs. They are also very proactive in the field. So whenever we face any kind of difficulties, whether it is for parents and teachers, they should go to doctors, they should go to psychologists, they should go to because there are many NGOs, they are also offering counseling services. So we should always feel that the children with disability, they have special skills or talents. So as a parent or teacher, we have to give them adequate scope so that their skills or their talents get proper identification. Their skills and talents are recognized in the society and community. So we all have to be very supportive so that these children with disabilities become the asset for the community, society, and also for their own well-being. So we all have to work in integration and in cooperation and collaboration with each other. So cooperation, collaboration, care, concern can help the children with disabilities to become the asset for the family, community, and the nation. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So well said. Cooperation, collaboration, care, and concern. So I hope our society gets benefited with your talk. The viewers get benefited with your talk. And I hope that we have a much more inclusive society in the future. Thank you so much for sharing your views, Dr. Mahapatra, today.
Thank you.